Uniontown, T-Town, touchdown, Alabama, let's get it.
The process, no one can stop this. Hottest show in the streets, I bet you can't top this. Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
The process.
Hey everyone, welcome into The Process, Crimson Tide Recruiting. I'm your host, Justin Smith, scouting and recruiting analyst, touchdown, Alabama. Thank you guys so much for joining us in our YouTube channel. Be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well. Subscribers, hit that notification bell. Be notified when we drop content on our YouTube channel. I'm here each week to break down the latest in Crimson Tide football recruiting news. On this episode, I do want to preview a big recruiting weekend that is shaping up to happen in Tuscaloosa on this weekend when Crimson Tide take on the Auburn Tigers in the Iron Bowl. Also, update on a new offer on a 2024 prospect that the Crimson Tide are looking at out of the state of Georgia for the 2024 recruiting cycle. Also talk about a key official visitor for the Crimson Tide, the wide receiver position. Preview his official visit as he will head to Tuscaloosa from Gainesville, Florida on this weekend. I am talking about Jaren Hamilton. But first, we're going to start with the Melo Jones, a 2024 athlete out of Georgia who picked up an offer from the Crimson Tide earlier today. The offer did come from the Crimson Tide's tight ends coach Joe Cox. I had an opportunity to talk with the Melo. He said he was excited and blessed to pick up an offer from the Crimson Tide. He said that Alabama likes him as a safety in terms of what he thinks about Alabama as a program. He feels that they are a college football powerhouse. Talked about how he feels that they are a dream school for him. Growing up as a kid is a program that has always stood out to him, which is what we're going to consistently hear from most guys, specifically moving forward, because most of these guys who have grown up, especially that 2024 class, have only seen Alabama at its best under Nick Saban. So the Melo Jones is a guy who the Crimson Tide offered on today. Taking a look at his film, he's a rising prospect who is getting offers because of the film that you guys are watching. You see him playing on both sides of the football. Seems to have decent ball skills. I really like one play the way he makes an interception deep down the field. I really like his ball skills, getting his his head turned around on that particular play. So there's a lot to like early about the Melo Jones that the Crimson Tide did offer him. On today, the Crimson Tide 2024 class is off to a nice start with commitments from guys like Jalen Mbakwe, Perry Thompson, and Martavius Collins, Julian Singing, as well as the Crimson Tide will try to add to the 2024 recruiting class as time goes on. A top wide receiver who will be in Tuscaloosa on this weekend is Jaren Hamilton, a 2023 four-star wide receiver out of Gainesville, Florida, who's taking his official visit to Alabama on this weekend. I actually had an opportunity to catch up with his dad recently, and he spoke highly of the Crimson Tide, talked a lot about Jaren Hamilton's not football background, but his track background actually, which is translated over to the football field for the Gainesville product. Actually grew up in Florida, a Florida fan, but Florida is not currently recruiting him. But the Tide looks to be the favorite, in my opinion, after continuing to gain information on Jaren Hamilton. He's a guy who has consistently said he plans to announce a commitment later in the fall, and Tide are in a really solid position with the speedy wide receiver who we did have an opportunity to see earlier in the season. Nice size, speed, good hands, great route running ability at his age. As he continues to grow, he's going to be a guy to watch out for. I like the toughness he brings to the wide receiver position. Two critical targets for the Crimson Tide who will be on campus this weekend as well are James Smith and Quay Russo, both five-star recruits, both attend Carver Montgomery High School in Montgomery, Alabama. Both are targets for the Auburn Tigers and the Alabama Crimson Tide. They're also looking at Georgia, Alabama State, Ohio State, and Florida. Florida has hosted them for an official visit. Auburn has hosted them for an official visit. Alabama will look to host a pair for an official visit a little bit later, a little bit of a later date, most likely in December. So that is the date to look out for with those guys announcing a commitment decision, most likely during the early signing period on National Signing Day. So the Crimson Tide are still heavily in the mix, getting these guys on campus as much as possible. We will work to their benefit, in my opinion. I also want to talk about a couple of key Alabama commits who were considering Auburn before they committed to Alabama earlier in this recruiting cycle, and I'm talking about Tony Mitchell and Jaleel Hurley, starting with Mitchell, who currently is committed to the Crimson Tide, of course, five-star recruit at Thomas High School in Alabama, set to compete in the 7A state championship once again, and they on next week in Auburn when they take on Auburn High School. But taking a look at Tony Mitchell, he's a guy who has consistently been recruited by Auburn and Texas A&M. Whenever I talk about both of those programs with him, he always says that those schools have built a great relationship with him, which is why he has continued to show them some love. But taking a look at the future and the Crimson Tide trying to close out this 2023 recruiting cycle, this is one of those battles I guess you could kind of throw in the mix in terms of Alabama and Auburn Iron Bowl recruiting battles heading down the final stretch of the 2023 recruiting cycle, along with Craig Rousseau and James Smith. And also with Rousseau and Smith, I think their decisions will be heavily impacted by whoever Auburn hires as their head coach. So I think that is something you have to keep your eyes on. I know when I got an opportunity to talk with them at the Under Armour All-America jersey presentation of theirs, both of them said they hadn't been contacted by Auburn yet, but they were open to hearing from anybody on their staff about their future because they did have a lot of respect for the Auburn program and they built a lot of great relationship with people at Auburn. So those are two guys to watch out for. Definitely Craig Rousseau and James Smith, but Tony Mitchell as well. As Crimson Tide tried to hold on to him, I think the Tide are in a good position. He has told me that he is locked in with the Crimson Tide on a consistent basis. I still feel that way, but teams like Auburn and Texas A&M will definitely still throw their best shot among other schools who try to possibly flip Tony Mitchell. Jaleel Hurley is a guy who has talked about Auburn as well, saying that they have continued to recruit him. But we did have Hurley on our show actually a couple of I don't know if it was last week, but if it's not last week, it was the week before, where he talked about him being locked in, excited about joining Alabama football in the future, and excited about coming in just ready to work, ready to compete, ready to get an opportunity to possibly be on the field with his play. And I think he's a guy, although Alabama's cornerback room has, I think, continue to grow, and those guys who have more experience next season, he's a guy I think who could just push guys in that cornerback room. I wouldn't go out on a limb and say that he will come in and make an immediate impact and start, but I think he will make an impact in terms of challenging guys at that cornerback position and taking a look at Jaleel Hurley's skill set. But that is what I want to talk about on this episode, the process. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Be sure to hit that like button before you leave, so the subscribe button as well. Subscribers, hit that notification bell, be notified when we drop content on our YouTube channel. Then head over to touchdownalabama.com, pick up your subscription today. As always, I am Justin Smith, scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama.
Process.